So back when I was growing up, if someone did something that was against their own interests, my mom would always say they bit their nose off to spite their own face. And when I read this headline about Marjorie Taylor Greene, that quote came back to me immediately. I thought, really, Marge, you're just now starting to wake up to this? You've took part in beating down women and stripping away rights from women for so long that you're just now waking up to the idea that the Republicans don't care about women. This is truly one of the craziest headlines that I ever read. But I got to read this article with you because it's both hilarious and it's sad and it's infuriating all at the same time that this person is now sitting here trying to suddenly be like, hey, I don't think they really care about us. No shit, Sherlock. We knew that all along, and that's why we've been over here speaking out so long and so hard against the Republican Party. But folks, I do appreciate y'all so much for what you've helped me build here on the channel. We did it. We crossed over 800,000 subscribers. Now we're on the road to 1 million. We made it to 500,000 before Inauguration Day. That means we've gained 300,000 just since January. So I do believe we can close the gap and hit 1 million before the end of the year. So if you haven't already, don't cost anything to do so. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. It'd really help us out because I looked at the analytics and over 50% of the audience that watches me every day still hasn't hit the button. So if you hit the button, that would help us out and help get this channel even further. So I really appreciate all of you so much, but let's just sit back and read this article that should be satire in any other time in history. But no, this is real life, folks. Marjorie Taylor Greene turns on the GOP, says Republicans are anti-women. well, hi, Marge. Welcome to the show. Glad you finally made it. Glad you finally opened your eyes and looked around and realized what you were part of. Oh, man, this is so ridiculous. So, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Georgia Republican and steadfast supporter of President Trump, actually, that should have said Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Susan Atkins to Trump's Charles Manson, has publicly criticized her own party over its treatment of women and said the GOP is out of step with the priorities of the Make America Great Again movement. I don't know if the Republican Party is leaving me or if I'm kind of not relating to the Republican Party as much anymore. She's told the Daily Mail. She added that women in her party are really sick and tired of the way men treat Republican women. Really? You're tired of the way that they treat women? Well, then why have you been on their side this entire time as they've stripped away rights from women? Why did you help them take part in that, Marge? So Newsweek has contacted the Republican Party and the White House for comment via email outside of work hours. Internal GOP dynamics appear to be growing more volatile ahead of the 2026 midterms. Though Greene remains a vocal supporter of the president, her message highlights a broader struggle over the future of the Republican Party as ideological tensions surface on the issues such as foreign policy and gender representation. John Gear, Vanderbilt poll co-director and professor of political science, told Newsweek that splits in the MAGA base are inevitable and added that Greene's comments reflect this. Speaking with the Daily Mail, Greene accused men of treating the Republican women badly. She said, I think there's other women, Republican women, and I'm just giving my opinion here, who are really sick and tired of them. And the only one that really got shafted was Elise Stefanik. Shortly after winning the November 2024 presidential election, Trump nominated Stefanik, a Republican representative from New York, to the role of the United Nations ambassador. However, in March, the president withdrew the nomination and amid concerns over the GOP's slim House majority. Mike Waltz was nominated for the role instead, on the heels of losing his job as national security advisor after including a journalist in the Signal group chat where Trump administration officials shared sensitive information about the attack on Yemen. And you know what's so crazy, folks? These news stories are happening so fast and there's so much going on. I actually forgot about that till I read that just then. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that was bad. So, how does he get awarded after Signalgate, she said. Isn't that weird? Who awarded him that? Greene also said the Republican Party was reverting to its neocon past and failing to represent workers and regular Americans. I want to stop just for a minute and hang on that note just for a minute. She accused it of reverting to its neocon past. So what Marjorie Taylor Greene here is essentially saying is that she doesn't want it to go back to being more of an old school Republican style of Republican Party. She doesn't want to see it return to like a Reagan or a Bush. So she wants it to remain MAGA, and MAGA is one of the most anti-women things that there is. So she's upset over the way that a couple of women in the Republican Party has been treated. I've covered plenty of stories that came right out of Georgia of women that died because they couldn't get the help that they needed. Marjorie Taylor Greene was someone who helped pave the way for that bullshit. So she doesn't get on this high horse now just because Elise Stefanik got booted and because she's mad that they're not always paying attention to her. They were never going to pay attention to you. The only time they're going to pay attention to you is when you're willing to parrot or mimic everything they say. And to Marjorie Taylor Greene, I would say the minute you step out of line with Donald Trump, he'll have a nickname for you. He'll have something to call you, and it's probably not going to be good. You're going to wish that Jasmine Crockett was back calling you the bleach blonde, bad-built butch body, because I promise you, Trump's going to come with something way worse the minute you step too far out of line. So then she goes, I think the Republican Party has turned its back on America first and workers and just regular Americans. I would say that MAGA turned their back on those people a long, long time ago. I don't have to keep reading this article to tell you how I feel about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene has no room at this point to ever criticize the Republican Party for its treatment of women within the Republican Party because she has no problem trampling on the rights of any other woman who she disagrees with, and she had no problem sitting there and going to bat for those Republican men as they stripped away rights from women. And we've covered stories on this channel of the women in Georgia who lost their lives because they couldn't get the basic, simple medical care that every woman I know has had at some point in time. I know so many women who have had those same procedures done and made it home the next day, and I've covered stories of people laying and bleeding out because they couldn't get the help. And no one wants to talk about that. Makes people uncomfortable. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's the one that paved the way for every bit of that. She is the one that has paved the way. And what she's really upset about right now is she is looking to the future. She's looking to see what's coming down the line. And she realizes they have to keep the grift going. She realizes they have to keep trying to feed that fandom that they have. And so what she's doing here, she doesn't want them to revert back to a more sensible approach. See, if J.D. Vance was to take the reins, and let's say J.D. Vance goes back to, well, I was never a Trump guy. If he goes back to that angle and tries to take it back to a more traditional, we're going to get back to our values and back to our roots, that's going to crush Marjorie Taylor Greene because she has no values. She has no roots. So she needs this grift to keep going, and she needs them to double down. That statement there about her being upset with the GOP over women is not what it sounds like, and neither is the headline. She's not mad at the Republicans Party, but the Republicans Party, she's not mad at their treatment of women. She's mad at how she's been treated, or a few other Republicans have been treated, because they didn't get to lead. Well, you should have known when you joined up with them, they were never going to let you in that position. They were never going to let you get ahead of them. And in the meantime, you cut your nose off to spite your own face. Because if you ever need medical help, there's going to be a good chance you're not going to get it, and you can call all day long and you try to get people on the phone, and those phones are going to ring out and you're not going to get an answer. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, she does not get a pass for that, and those headlines sometimes can be misleading because it's like, oh, okay, so she's starting to say, well, okay, let's say that headline had followed up with her saying, you know what, I see the error of my ways. I see the rights that's been stripped away. I've heard these tragic cases of women dying, and I can't believe that it led to this. I never meant for it to go this far. That's what it should have said, but that's not what it was. It was, I'm just hurt over us not getting the microphone more. And she wants the microphone so she can double down on her hatred. She wants the microphone so she can continue to push the most extreme bullshit. That's the type of person that Marjorie Taylor Greene is and always will be. That person will never, Marjorie Taylor Greene will never get a pass from me because she's the one that harassed students that survived school shootings. She walked along behind them and taunted them and mocked them like Ravishing Rick Rude mocking Jake the Snake. I'm surprised that she didn't airbrush their face on her dress and swivel her hips. That's how disgusting she was about it. And and has been one of the biggest offenders of the January 6th insurrectionists, the domestic terrorists that they are. She's defended them every step of the way. And the only reason she's mad at the moment is because MAGA ain't being MAGA enough. Because the minute that they return to a voice of reason, she doesn't have one, and she couldn't compete on that level. I'm actually gonna give J.D. Vance one thing over Marjorie Taylor Greene on this one. If J.D. Vance tries to resort back to the I was never a Trump guy, we're going to be holding his feet to the fire. But J.D. Vance is smart. I'm not going to tell you J.D. Vance is stupid. He's a smart man. And J.D. Vance will find a way to spin the bullshit to where you go, well, he sounded reasonable. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the debate that he did with Tim Walz. In that debate, I realized, you know what? This guy's actually pretty good at sounding reasonable when he's saying something insane. he could compete on that level. He could sit there and resort back to the old school Reagan way of doing it and be just as dangerous, if not more dangerous than Trump, and he could probably still get it over. Marjorie Taylor Greene can't come down on that sensible level. She's like the wrestler that can only fall on thumbtacks and go through burning tables. She doesn't know how to mat wrestle. That's what this is. She doesn't know how. Like this, she would not know how to do that. It would be the funniest thing ever if you put her on a stage with other Republicans and she wasn't allowed to do her shtick. She had to keep it like straight down the middle. She couldn't do it. She would be out of tricks in no time flat. If every time she resorted to a MAGA trick, the buzzer hit her, she would be off the show in no time. So yeah, Marge, you brought this on yourself, and you backed a party that was anti-women, and you laughed every step of the way. So don't get upset now that Donald Trump's taking the microphone from you. No one cares. But I do appreciate everyone so much for helping me to build this community, folks. And we do have a Patreon if you haven't had a chance to check that out. I've been doing some exclusive content over there. The link is in the description of this bio of this video here. We've been doing some really cool stuff over there. We got some live streams and some interviews coming up with some people I think you're really going to enjoy. And I've been working. I don't want to announce it just yet till I get it in stone and I can tell you. But we actually here on YouTube, you ain't gonna have to worry about Patreon. Here on YouTube, we've got some people coming up that I'm really excited about talking to, and then over on Patreon, we'll have exclusive bonus content over there as well. You can check out if you want to. But keep your eyes and ears open. Some of those people you've been saying I wish Brando would talk to, I'm going to get the pleasure of talking to them just as soon as we can work out the schedule. So I truly do appreciate your support. Stay tuned. We got some great things coming, and Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't because she aligned herself with one of the worst political ideologies in human history.